I think I thought of migration as this very individual thing. Like, oh, my family decided to do this. Like, I hadn't really thought out the fact that we lived in New York in a neighborhood full of people who had made the same decision. My family came here from Belarus when I was 5 years old. Growing up in New York, more than anything, I wanted to be an American kid. I was really kind of upset that we had these peculiarities and that my parents spoke with accents. So it was definitely a surprise to everyone, myself included, that I ended up getting into a field and doing research that kind of brought me back to the Soviet Union. And, I started thinking that my background could be a kind of asset and not just sort of something that I had to overcome or, try to forget about in some way. I was working with an organization that was resettling refugees in the St. Louis area. They were getting a new kind of refugee community that they had never worked with before, and they didn't really have any Russian speakers. And so there I was being kind of called upon to speak Russian, and that group of people ended up being the people that I did my dissertation work on. I just got so fascinated by their story and about what their story can tell us about long-term displacement. What's the lived experience of that? What are the consequences of that? And how it plays out across generations. Because displacement had been such a key element of the lives of the community that I worked with, my project sort of needed to mirror that. So I did ethnographic work in 3 different places where people in this community had at different times ended up. I started off in Azerbaijan. The people that I worked with were displaced within the Soviet Union in the 1940s. They ended up in Azerbaijan. I went on to Georgia, and Georgia is actually the place that they were initially deported from. And because the group of people I worked with were Turkish speakers, the third site that I did research in was Turkey. What I wanted to see again is, what is this idea of return? How does it animate, debates in this community? How does it animate people's idea of themselves? This idea that they can only kind of succeed as a community or be fully complete as a community if they're able to return from this place that they were deported from. And I wanted to understand that in terms of citizenship. Like, how does citizenship make people feel like they belong? Or how is citizenship being used as an exclusionary kind of mechanism? For a long time, migration, especially labor migration, has been predominantly kind of male pursuit. But recently, scholars have started paying attention to the feminization of migration. Migrant women are just on the move in a variety of ways. So specifically, I'm interested in women from all over the former Soviet Union who are labor migrants in Turkey. This feminized migration, it opens up an incredible range of new opportunities for women to support their families. On the other hand, it also means that what those families look like has really changed. Families where a father is absent for a long time is something that we're familiar with, but the idea of a mother being absent is a bit new for people, and still we're trying to sort of grasp what that means. Because of anthropology and because of the research I did, because of the time that I spent with people whose lives have been kind of continually marked with displacement, they've given me a kind of shield against attempts to erase nuance. If anything, that's what I want, any student I have in any class I teach to walk away with. This demand for kind of better analysis, not just more accurate information, but information that really relates to the experiences of the people who are the most vulnerable in any particular situation.